What's up, Melanated family? This is your boy Harrison, man, bringing you a brand new episode of the Melanated Convo podcast, my show. Now, if this is your first time tuning in to the Melanated Convo podcast, what we do here is we have interesting dialogue about the different things that we experience in the black community. I like to use melanated because I think, black, African American, these are words and phrases that are more or less social constructs, opposed to defining definitions of who we are, of who we are as people, right? So on the show, we like to have interesting conversations about things that affect our children, things that affect our relationship, things that affect our family in different ways, things that affect melanated people as a whole. It's my goal that we create these important discussions so we can share them with our children, so we can share them with the next generation, so we can learn. If we're not going to just give it to our children, it's so we can learn, so ultimately our children can learn from us. Also on the show, what we like to do is something called the Black Business Spotlight. I think an extremely important part of our recovery here in this country as melanated people is our finances. We all know by now that, a dollar circulates through a black community once or twice, opposed to 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 times in other communities. So it's important that we find different ways to support black businesses, right? We find different ways to support black businesses, and that can be a business in your neighborhood, that can be a business that you found online, that can be a friend that you know, and there's different ways to support a black business, right? You can buy something, you can tell somebody about it, you can when you do buy something, you can spread the word. You feel what I'm saying? You can share about it on your social media, you can leave good reviews, you can there's a lot of different things we can do to support the different black businesses in our neighborhood and around the country, right? Also on the show, what we like to do is talk about different news stories. I find different news stories, different shit that's taking place in black culture, in melanated society. I like to take those stories, dissect them a little bit. A lot of times I like to find things that have to do with either police brutality or something negative that has happened to our children in school or in society, because again, my entire platform, which is Melanated Fathers of America, is all based around us being people who are a little bit older. Do what we can to infuse wisdom into our children, right? Do what we can to teach our children about history. Do what we can to teach our children about politics to a degree. Teach our children about relationships, right? We understand that white supremacy or racism, whatever you want to call it, has done a number on melanated people in this country. So it's important for us, especially the adults, to do what we can to kind of sharpen out the young people, right? Whether it's giving them information about history, whether it's giving them a different perspective about relationships, you know what I'm saying? So we try our best to do all that here on the show. And also, so we do the news stories, do the Black Business Spotlight, and then we always have a topic. At the end of the show, we have a topic kind of culminating all of these things together. Today, the topic will be based around a video that I seen of a brother producing a DNA test for the woman that he thought he had a baby with, just to find out. So he found out that the baby wasn't his. I think it was like a party or something they were at. He presented her with the DNA test at the party of a little girl that was 3 already. So he found out that the 3-year-old girl that he thought was his baby wasn't his baby, right? So at the end of the show, we're going to have a topic. We're going to have a conversation about toxic feminine energy, toxic femininity, whatever you want to call it, because in this society we've dubbed men to be like a toxic masculinity, whatever the fuck that means, right? And I see different posts about how men can be deemed toxic, and I understand as men, and as it relates to our relationship with women and how we've treated them throughout the years, I understand that it's been rocky. Now again, this ain't no black shit, just to be honest. This is more how the white man treated his white woman. I don't really think black men in this country has ever had any power or have ever been in the standing where we can actually mistreat our women systematically. Yeah, is there domestic violence sometimes? Yeah, sometimes niggas just don't be shit and be promiscuous and all this shit. True, but that's kind of all races of people kind of go through those things, in my opinion, right? So that's what we're going to talk about here on the show today. You feel me? I'm happy to have y'all with me, man. If you haven't done so already, if you're watching the show on YouTube, please hit the like button. Please hit the subscribe button so you can be made aware of when I drop new videos on Melanated Fathers TV is the name of the YouTube page. On that channel, you'll see this show, the Melanated Convo podcast. You'll see videos by inspiring black men and women throughout history. Some not alive anymore, some still with us, but I'm really infatuated by people who speak truth to power. And I think in our country, being melanated people, we have spent a lot of time, whether it be in school or just in society, listening to and getting information from a lot of people who don't represent how we feel, from a lot of people who don't represent our culture. So I like to put videos on my page of black men and women who speak truth to power and aren't afraid, right? Like they have the courage to go out and speak these things, and a lot of them are independent too. A lot of them have their own businesses or they have their own things going on, so they're not necessarily reliant on white society to get money and different things like that. So they tend to be a little more freer with their speech. But I think all of us, even if, because a lot of the men that I'll have on the website speaking, you know, everybody may not agree with their ideology. Everybody may not agree with some of the things that they do, but ultimately, if your main goal is to empower black people, melanated people, if your main goal is to see us in a better position and you're genuine about that, that's all I really care about. You feel me? So on Melanated Fathers TV, you'll find that information. On there also, you'll find a History Matters section where I basically talk about different people and places throughout history. Really, really interesting stuff. Melanated Fathers TV, Melanated Convo podcast is all a part of my bigger platform, which is Melanated Fathers of America. If you go to the website, which is melanatedfathers.com, you'll find the content. On the website, we'll have this show, of course. On the website, we have a History Matters section as well, but it's written out articles opposed to being videos. Well, the video is actually attached to the written out article, but it's more of a written type of thing, so people who want to actually read the information. We have a book of the month that we present on there every month. We have different articles that I write and other people write about parenting and different specific issues that we go through with our children, because of course the whole focus of Melanated Fathers of America for me is to create a platform where primarily young fathers, primarily fathers can go and get information. I think back to when I, being a man that's 40 years old now, have 5 kids. I have 5 kids, 4 by the age of 23. I think back to what could I have benefited from at that time of my life? What kind of information could I have consumed to help my psyche? What kind of information could I have consumed that would have helped me make better decisions, that would have helped me get in connect with who I am as a person, right? And for me, like my personal opinion, family, is if we gonna get a clear understanding of who we are as people, you have to look at your history first. You have to look at the history of your family. You have to look at the history of the people who look like you. And I think when you do that, you begin on a road of like self-discovery. Many people have different ways of going about getting in tune with themselves. Some people go to religion, some people go to like a psychiatrist or something. Some people have all these different type of epiphanies of ways that really they can just become a better person, right? And me, my opinion, being a melanated man, being a black man in this society, with all the things that we go through, with all the challenges that we have to face, I think to learn American history as it relates to the black man can do you wonders as far as getting a clear perspective on what we're looking at, right? So Melanated Fathers of America is my way of being a knowledge base for the black man in America. Also, you know, of course, is primarily kind of put together for a young man to consume the information and be able to congest it, but also the family in general, like just the black family in general. I think, you know, online right now, you can find a lot of different shit, right? You can find things that entertain you. You can find things that may educate you a little bit. I like to be more on the side of educating. I'm not big on creating like an entertainment type platform. That's just not my shit. I'm more or less focused on how we think, right? I think we just need to create a balance. There's nothing wrong with going online and watching shit that make you laugh or having fun. We all do that. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But there has to become a time where you take shit more serious. There has to become a time where you figure out, where you do your due diligence and figure out who we are as a people. Like when we look at the racism in this country, when we look at the George Floyd shit, when we look at everything that's been happening like over the past year and a half, right? Year maybe, where we have all these entities and all these industries coming out and supporting black folks. Now, whether this shit is genuine or not, it's deserved, and ultimately we should get reparations or something for us, you know what I mean? But if you do your due diligence about history, if you look through how we've been treated through Reconstruction and Jim Crow and all these other times in American history that were important for us. If you look at these things, what you're seeing now won't confuse you. That's my whole thing, family. We need to be able to look at the scope of America and not be confused by what you see. And to me, if you're a melanated person, if you're a black person, if you do the knowledge about where we come from and where you come from specifically, you'll have a great perspective on who we are. You feel me? Now, let's go, family. Let's go to the black businesses first. Now I'm going to talk about the same two black business that I spoke about last week. I think every week I'm actually gonna do both two businesses, same businesses, 2 weeks in a row, just to give them the maximum amount of exposure that my platform will allow. So let's go. Now, first business that I talked about last week, we're gonna talk about them again. The Green Baker LLC, right? Now, if you like me, if you like to participate with, how can I put it, municipal marijuana, if you like the feeling of municipal marijuana, if you have ailments that you deal with, because a lot of us were raised, you know, smoking weed just for fun, just to be honest. Like, it's always been like a fun thing, a way to relax. But in today's society, with all the advancements of marijuana, if you're dealing with different ailments, it can help you out. You're dealing with different bouts of pain. If you're dealing with arthritis, if you're dealing with anxiety, like all these different type of things, we can actually help you out. And this sister, her name is Angie, she created something called the Green Baker LLC, where she creates marijuana infused baked dishes, whether it's cookies, brownies, different type of elixirs. And the sister goes one step further because she can actually show you how to do it, right? That's why I was really intrigued about her platform, is because not only can you buy baked goods from her that are infused with marijuana, she actually has a small catering company too, where if you're having a small event, she'll create small marijuana induced dishes for your event, you feel me, to kind of give that to your clients or whoever you're dealing with. So that's something that she offers. She has a podcast, she has a blog, and this is all things that you can find on thegreenbaker.com. That's the Green Baker, TheGreenBKR.com, thegreenbaker.com. That's TheGreenBKR.com. You could go to her website, check out everything that she has to offer. The sister told me to let everybody know that if she does cooking classes as well. So if you have a family member who is struggling with a particular type of ailment, because like on some real shit, family, a lot of us smoke weed for fun. A lot of people smoke weed for fun. You may see fucking rappers smoking and people on TV, you know, making the shit look cool, but in actuality, there's some medical benefits to it, right? Like I said, if you have a family member that is dealing with a particular ailment, you do some research. Marijuana may be the thing. And I know a lot of people who don't like being high, though, right? You know what I mean? They don't like necessarily the high part of marijuana, but they want the effects on their body. So that can be with CBD, different things like that she can help you with. So even if you have questions about what type of marijuana you may want to infuse in your food, because some of us think if you put weed in the food, it's going to taste like weed hella much, and that's not necessarily the case. You feel me? So this sister Angie can kind of help you with that process. Like I said, she has cooking classes. She's in Florida. So if you're not in Florida, she has cooking classes that you can do virtually, right? If you're interested in that, go to thegreenbakerllc.com or the Green Baker, that's TheGreenBKR.com, BKR.com. Check her out. You can also call her at 954-546-4199. She's on Facebook at The Green Baker LLC. So again, family, even if you are just curious about learning what type of marijuana to put in what type of food, you feel me? All these are things that can be beneficial to you. And on top of that, it's a sister. So let's support our sister. She started a great business. She has a lot of culinary experience. So she's using her love for marijuana, her experience being a cook, and kind of infusing those two to provide a beautiful product for the people. So this is thegreenbaker.com. That's TheGreenBKR.com. What else? So yeah, cooking classes, virtual classes, elixirs, baked goods, cookies, brownies. She off the chain with that thing, right? So go to thegreenbaker.com today. That's TheGreenBKR.com. Go there today. Show your support for the sister. Like I said, on her site, she also has a podcast. She has a podcast like mine that she does where she speaks specifically about these type of dishes and the benefits of medicinal marijuana. Some good shit, right? She also has a blog. So if you're interested just to hearing her story, how this came to be for her, go to the website, check out what she's doing. Now, next business. Again, same two businesses we spoke about yesterday, but I'm gonna start doing every business twice, but I think these businesses are beneficial to our community, y'all. A lot of these businesses are things that we do anyway. So why not give our money to somebody who look like us, family? Feel me? Now, next business is foodislife01.com. That's foodislife01.com. What is foodislife01.com? This is a company that sells sauces and seasonings for our food. Sauces and seasonings for our food. Now, being black folks, we know how much we can season up some goddamn chicken. We can season up any meal we want. We making sure that seasoning is right? And just like I said last week, to get our seasoning, typically we just go to the store, family, and pick out the shit that we want, right? I mean, we not really doing any deep dives on seasoning. We go to the superstore or go to the grocery store, go to the seasoning aisle, and we just pick what we used to buying or things that we feel will benefit whatever meal we have in front of us, right? Well, I recommend all my family out there, before you barbecue again, before you decide you want to whip that grill out and get everything popping, go to foodislife01.com. Get your seasonings from our family, man. You can get seasonings that you can get sauces and seasonings, right? So you have honey mustard sauce, you have buffalo barbecue sauce, you have chipotle ginger seasoning, house seasoning, ranch seasoning, chicken rub for your chicken, espresso rub, I wonder what it is. Barbecue rub, barbecue seasoning. So everything you need to season your meat, family, whether it's steak, whether it's barbecue, whether it's chicken, right? Whatever we're doing, our family have it for you. Now, they offer 10% off. If you go to the website, which is foodislife01.com, foodislife01.com. If you go to the website, become a subscriber, you get 10% off of your first order. The seasonings aren't really expensive at all, family, so we don't have no excuse. If you are into cooking, if you make sure your shit be popping with the seasoning, go to the website. Show our family some love, man. And this is how we create an economy within an economy, family. We have to support each other. It's a must that we support each other. And after you buy the seasoning, after you realize you like the seasoning, tell one of your friends, man. Like I said last week, most of us, not all of us, most of us are on social media speaking about what we did today. We on social media speaking about how we feel about somebody. We on social media bragging about where we at, showing our vacation. All this shit's fine. There's nothing wrong with doing any of that. But also, what we need to do is use our social media platforms to big up different members of our community who doing the right thing. If you know somebody who got a store, or you know somebody who got a business, you know how much that'll help them just for you to get it popping on your social media? Just tell your friend on social media, hey, look, this is something I tried. You should try it too. I'm at the store right now. Get you some. I just ordered it. It came in the mail. Here it go. You feel me? Like these social media platforms are wonderful, family. They give us the ability to talk to somebody in fucking Timbuktu in 10 minutes. You know what I mean? Like, that's remarkable, the actual reach that we have with these platforms, but let's use them for good, family. Again, you can have fun and play around and let your hair down. Ain't nothing wrong with that shit. But let's make sure we use these platforms for powerful things too. Use these platforms to empower the people around us, and in the interim, we'll help them build their business. And like I always say, family, if more black Americans became financially well off, it's going to help all of us. Ultimately, it's going to help all of us, right? So that is foodislife01.com, where they say, let us add a little bit of life to your food. So if you're interested in buying any of the products, please go to the website, family. They also wanted me to let y'all know, right, that they make the orders fresh to order, or they make the seasonings fresh to order. They're vegan friendly, curbside for local customers. They customize spices if your allergies kick in, or if you're allergic to something in particular. You can actually hit them up on the website and tell them, hey, look, I want this particular spice, but I need to make sure this ingredient isn't in there because I'm allergic to it. If you do that, they'll look out for you. You see what I'm saying? So they'll customize it to your likings. And like I said, new subscribers get 10% off. All you have to do is use the code NEW at checkout. So use the code NEW at checkout. You'll get 10% off of that order. And all I ask is that you buy the seasoning, order sauces, then tell your family about it. Feel me? Cook with it. Don't tell nobody what you used. Cook with it. Let them be like, damn, that was good. You feel me? Be like, hey, food is life 01, player. You know what I mean? So that's it for the two businesses. So we got foodislife01.com and thegreenbaker.com. TheGrenBKR.com. Those are the two businesses, family. Support them, support them, support them, support them, support them. Now for the news stories, right? A few things here that I wanted to talk about. Now, when we look at the protests involving our brother George Floyd, the unfortunate situation that ultimately ended in him losing his life, since then there has been a lot of protesting, a lot of marching, a lot of unrest, right? There's been a lot of that. And again, I'm going record as saying, I'm not the biggest proponent of marching per se. I understand sometimes there's a need to march to bring attention to something in particular. When it comes to police violence, I'm not sure if that's the best way to bring attention to police violence, being that everybody knows what's been happening to us. But if my brothers and sisters is out there marching, I support them 100%, because they're giving their time, and time is the only commodity we can't get back, family. So if you're out there using your time and energy to bring attention to something that's going to ultimately help me, I fuck with that, right? But what we have to realize in this story, authorities are basically claiming that in Minnesota, there has been a lot of agent provocateurs out there, meaning people who act like they're with the movement or that they're there to protest and help out, but they're actually just there to cause problems to make shit even worse, right? So what happened is there's this guy that was vandalizing an AutoZone store in Minnesota. He's a masked man. It's actually on film, actually. I think they have him on film with like a hatchet or something, breaking the windows, smashing the windows in the AutoZone, right? Now, again, throughout the country, we've been seeing that a part of this unrest has been the looting and the vandalizing, right? But family, keep in mind that it don't be just black folks out there, for one, and then it just don't be people out there that have our best interests at heart. It don't be people out there that's really out there for the movement. This has been since the beginning of time, family. There's been agent provocateurs kind of put in our mix to rile shit up to make it go one way or the other, right? So it was a masked man out there breaking windows. This was on May 27th, right? He had a sledgehammer breaking windows. Now authorities are claiming that this white man is actually associated, and this is real important, family. This white man is actually associated with a group called the Aryan Cowboys, as well as Hell's Angels biker gang, right? So they was able to get a picture of him, get a clear idea of who he is, and this brother's an actual white supremacist. Now I listen to a lot of black men who have radio shows and have podcasts like mine who speak truth to power and I got to give them credit, they've been talking about this type of thing where you think it's all your people out there protesting, but in actuality, they got the white supremacists in our mix. And I don't know if they're sent by the government. Like, we could go one step further and say that, yeah, they out there on some white supremacist shit, but how do they get so close? Why are they so comfortable? You see what I'm saying? So we got to and I bring up this story to bring up the point that whenever we create a movement, whenever we are attempting to empower ourselves, we just need to be aware of the people that we allow in our mix. We just need to be, not be naive to thinking that shit like this can't happen. That we can get people in our mix and they're saying that once he broke the window to the AutoZone ended up getting looted, right? The AutoZone ended up getting looted, and they said it was a peaceful protest up until that point. So up until that point, it was peaceful, and he kicked the shit off. So what makes me think, how many other cities around America, when all of this shit was popping, and the news was reporting the thugs, the looters, all this kind of shit, how many of that was started by agent provocateurs? How many of that was started by white folks just looking to fuck the movement up? Because if it's completely peaceful, that's not a story. You know what I mean? So they want to make it look like, oh, there them niggas go again. They being unruly again, or whatever the case may be. So it's important that we become aware of stories like this, family. So no matter what city you in, when you see looting and a lot of unrest going on, never just think that's just us out there doing that shit. You feel me? And for everybody out there on the front line protesting, all the young people, man, it's a lot of young people out there protesting, putting their life on the line to a degree, getting pepper sprayed, getting hit with these rubber bullets and all this shit. I salute y'all, man. I salute y'all, because some of us, and again, I hear people who say, if you're not on the front line meaning if you're not out there, boots on the ground, protesting, then you need to shut up. You're not a part of the movement. You're not being impactful. I beg to differ when it comes to that. I think there's a lot of ways to be a revolutionary. You could do it with your finances. You could do it with your mouth. You can do it with writing. You can do it with if you're an artist, you can do it with expressing it in your music. Like, whatever your outlet is, you can use that outlet to practice, like, revolutionary thinking. It don't gotta be a motherfucker on the front line marching. Like, that's one step, and I would argue that step, I mean, I'm not even sure how beneficial that step is ultimately, but nonetheless, it's a part of the process. Just like marching is a part of the process. If you're a person who makes documentaries, that's a part of the process. If you're a person who lectures and speaks to people, that's a part of the process. If you're a person who writes books about all this shit, that's a part of the process. If you're a person that has a podcast or use your voice, right? If you're a person to just be on social media all day, tweeting, posting shit that's gonna empower us, that's a part of the process too, right? So all of us can be used in this fight, family. Regardless of what you are doing, I say, as long as you're doing something, because I know a lot of black people who aren't involved in empowering black folks at all. Like, it's not even a thing to them. It ain't even something they think about doing. It's not even something they're passionate about. So when I do see someone that looks like me, who's passionate about our revolution, who's passionate about empowering us and empowering the future, however they choose to do so, as long as it's not hurting nobody, I fuck with it. So let's be aware of these agent provocateurs around the country trying to infiltrate our movements, make things look worse than they are. You feel me? Now, next story. All right, so next story. This is something that happened in February, but the video was just coming out today. And again, it's important because I see people on my timeline, I see people who send me messages who kind of beg that I go too far when it comes to the police brutality or highlighting the injustices that happen to us at the hands of police, right? And I'm just here to tell you that the shit's been going on for way too long, and until it stops, it's up to all of us to call it out at every turn. It's up to all of us to continue doing what we can to make sure this shit can change around in some way or another, right? So in Arkansas in February, a black man and his girlfriend, a black man named Lionel Morris, he was in the store. And I think he actually stole something from the store, right? The police were called to the store because him and his girlfriend was stealing. I think his girlfriend, once the police got to the store, I think his girlfriend just dropped to the ground. She kind of just said, hey, arrest me. He wasn't trying to go down as easy, right? So he tried to run a little bit, tried to wrestle with the police a little bit, and ultimately they put this brother in one of the same type of positions George Floyd was in, where it was one man with a knee on his back, one man a knee on his lower back, one man had like a knee on his legs or some shit like that, right? So ultimately the brother, and this is so eerie how we continue to say like the same type of things and the same result always happens. So this brother is telling them, I can't breathe, right? And again, this happened before in another situation where the white cop told a man the same thing. In this situation, the white cop told him, you can breathe because I can hear you talking, right? If you couldn't breathe, you couldn't talk, right? Not understanding that he's just referencing the fact that he can feel his lungs kind of imploding, that he can feel the life kind of leaving out of his body, right? So that's, to me, that's a sign, that's a telltale sign that maybe we should get off of him. Maybe one of us should be on him instead of 5 or 6 or 7, right? So ultimately, long story short, the brother Lionel Morris ultimately died, right? Like that's not to be expected. He ultimately died being in that position after saying that he couldn't breathe. It was like an 8-minute thing. Look, ain't that kind of eerie? It was like an 8-minute time frame where they was on his back. He's yelling, he can't breathe. And just like with the George Floyd situation, come on, man. A motherfucker steal something from a store and do some little check scam shit. That's not That shouldn't cost somebody their life. Pick them up off the ground. You have them in handcuffs. So this is what I don't understand about the police, man. We talk about how all police aren't bad and, you know, the majority of police don't conduct themselves like that. It don't matter, man. If we continue, one of these incidents is too much. One of these incidents is too much. So we have the police spread across over his goddamn back. One of them tell him, what did he say? He told him something like, shut the fuck up before I hit you in your face, or shut the fuck up before I elbow you, something like that, right? And again, they're sitting on top of his body, hella nonchalant. Family, we have a problem with the way we are policed in this country, specifically black folks. Like, this is a goddamn problem that needs to be addressed. It's no doubt about it. It needs to be addressed. Something needs to happen. In my opinion, first things first, cops shouldn't be allowed to police in areas they're not from. Bottom line. 2, cops shouldn't be allowed to just shoot nobody. It should be a matter of, or they shouldn't be allowed to be too aggressive. It should be based on the situation. And also, it shouldn't be more than 2 cops. If it's one man you have to subdue, it shouldn't be more than 2 cops. Why do I say that? I'm tired of seeing these fat, donut, sloppy eating ass cops who hella fat and out of shape and shit, and they kind of just pissed off that you made them run, or they kind of just pissed off that they had to tussle with your black ass. Look, cops should be in shape. They should have to go through their training, whatever the initial training is. After this initial training, they should have to be in the gym 3 times a week. There's no fucking way. You a goddamn gladiator out there on them streets. You should be able to fuck one dude up. If it's one cop should be able to subdue one person on its own. You should know some jiu-jitsu or some shit, nigga. You should know some fly-ass karate or some shit. You should know some takedown moves that most of us aren't familiar with, that all you got to do is hit us real quick, bop, he down on the ground, put the handcuffs on him. I think the reason why we're seeing all of the gunplay, the reason why we're seeing all of the brutality to a degree is, 1, we have a lot of white supremacists in law enforcement. Nobody wants to admit that. The FBI came out and told us that several years ago. There's a lot of white men in the police force, just like there's a lot of white judges, there's a lot of white attorneys, district attorneys, all these different people who don't have the KKK hood on no more. Now they got on a goddamn suit and tie, and they're conducting themselves the same way. So they understand that being in a police force, you're damn near lawless, where you can do pretty much what you want to do, all in the name of police work, and you have a police union that's going to back your ass. You see what I'm saying? So we need to continue to try to figure out ways to fight this goddamn beast, or it's not going to be, or it's never going to be the way it should be, right? Keeping in mind that we can't negate the fact that policing in America was started with slave patrols, family. They're treating us the same way the slave patrols treated us. You feel what I'm saying? But anyways, they need to be in shape, family. They need to be in shape. They need to be in the gym 2-3 times a week. You need to take in karate classes. They need to be, cops should be in tip-top combat shape, right? They should be in tip-top. This will help their confidence. I think sometimes these white men who are already intimidated by us for different reasons, who already got these negative stereotypes built up about us based on history, based on shit that they've misrepresented. You see what I'm saying? Based on our goddamn melanin. You know what I'm saying? They already have these ways that they feel about us, so they're already intimidated, so their hand is kind of already on the gun because they don't know what we're going to do, because they're unsure of how we're going to react based on them not really living with us, based on them not really being around us on a day-to-day basis. You see what I'm saying? But if we don't begin to put these cops in jail, if we don't retrain these cops, racism training and physical training, they need to be physically in shape. I think, and this is just my opinion, if we have a white cop that's, let's say he buffed in a motherfucker, he hella buff and no jujitsu or no something, when you are secure in who you are, when you're confident in your masculinity, you're less likely to fuck somebody up. You know what I mean? You're less likely to pull a gun. You can look at somebody and say, okay, he's on drugs. Something's wrong with him. I can just grab him real quick, throw him to the ground, right? Because I am going to concede that a cop does have a dangerous job, right? Right? You're in a job where at any moment somebody could pull a gun, a knife. You don't know what somebody got. I get it. Granted, you should anticipate this. You should know this before you take your oath. Like when you're in training, they should kind of drill this point home to all their cadets that this is life or death shit, and if you can't take it, If it's too much for you, you shouldn't do the job. You know what I mean? So ultimately, I think these cops in Arkansas, I think the district attorney in Arkansas is basically saying that they were rightfully so because of how the man was moving around. They're also already putting it out in the air that the man had hella drugs in his body, that he had meth in his body, he had coke in his body, all this other shit, which to me, I don't really give a fuck about that. He's dead at the hands of police officers. And the thing is, all of this sets a terrible precedence, family. When a cop can do this to us and there's no jail time that comes from it, you tell me why they would stop. Right? You tell me why they would stop. When they get into a situation where they can't work no more, where they're on administrative leave or all this shit, somebody typically starts a GoFundMe for them or some type of online account where some of these cops end up fucking rich before it's over. Right? If not rich, infamous. If not both. You see what I'm saying? So what is the incentive to stop? What is the incentive to stop? I know a lot of people say if you look at all of the police stops around the country, all of the police interactions, it's a small percentage that actually kill us or become violent with us, but I don't give a fuck about none of that. It's too much. That's the point. It's too many. It's been happening for too long. And look, I would look at this different if police killed everybody. Right? I would look at this differently if you can cut on the TV and see a white man get his shit blown out for running, for moving, for not complying, right? An Asian man get his shit blown out for the same reasons, right? Then we'd say, okay, this isn't a race thing at all. We just have a problem with how police are handling citizens. But see, that's not the case here. The case here is that it is racial. The case here is that it has a lot to do with fucking race, right? That because I see on camera several times, even with my own eyes, I've seen a cop. I was driving on the freeway. I seen a cop already had a dude pulled over. Right? I'm driving along, see him on the side. He already has a dude pulled over. The man, I don't know what they're saying, of course, because we're on the freeway. The man gets out of the car and he's flailing his arms. Like, what did you pull me over for? Right? I don't know what he's saying, but you know what the cop was doing? The cop's hands was like this. No, man, I know, man. Look, it ain't even whatever he was saying, but he was backing up. He wasn't going for his gun. He wasn't being the aggressor. And I almost crashed. I seen that shit. I was like, oh my God, that white man's about to die. That cop's about to kill that cop's about to kill that white man. So I'm looking behind me looking for the smoke. I'm looking behind me like at any moment it's finna pop off. No. They talked. And that's just one of other type of incidents that I've seen that let me know, okay, they got a problem with me. They got a problem with us. They got a problem with how we act. They got a problem with how we look. They have these preconceived notions. Whatever the fuck it is, family, but that shit gotta stop. You know what I mean? And me, personally, I'm using my platform. I'm extremely passionate about this. I'm never going to stop highlighting injustices that we face by the hands of our oppressor, by the hands of the police departments, by the hands of the government. Like, being a 40-year-old man, and in my opinion, every decade of my life in this country, there has been travesties done to my people on all different fronts, whether it be the educational side of it, whether it be the music industry side of it, where we get fucked in every contract we enter in, whether it be in politics. It's not a lot of us in politics, but the ones we do have in politics seem to be on some coon shit. Not all of them, but too many. You know what I mean? So it's a whole bunch of moving parts always going on at the same time, but at the end of the day, we need to be empowered. At the end of the day, we need people around us that are fair, honest and fair people, right? And when we talk about politics, everybody telling me and telling people around us, vote, 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 vote. I think that is a incorrect way to go about that topic. You can't just tell me to vote. I can be adding more negative fuel to the fire if I vote for the wrong person, or we put in office someone who does not mean me any well. So you should be telling me who to vote for, right? You need to tell me, okay, you need to have a conversation out of it. You can't have a fucking shirt that says vote or have a commercial that just tells teenagers to vote. You need to tell teenagers how to select the right candidate. You need to tell teenagers to understand who they are and get a grasp of what's important to them. Once you know what's important to you, Then you can go out and seek a candidate who is speaking to what's important to you. Now, I would say if I have specific issues that I want to see taken care of in this country, if it's a presidential election time and neither one of the candidates are expressing to me that they have the ability, the fortitude, or the willpower to fix these issues that are affecting me specifically, then fuck you. I won't vote. Does that make sense? Right? Like, to tell a human being, to tell an adult to vote for the lesser of the, that is the stupidest shit I've ever heard in my fucking life. Can we stop that? So quit going with tradition. Quit going with just how shit is always going. No, man. Think for yourself. Think for your goddamn self. Are we even really voting in the president? Like, with the involvement of the electoral college and how that whole process goes down, am I really voting for somebody? Is my vote actually counting? Right? And then if you're the kind of person, especially if you're black, especially if you're in our community, if you just cast your vote, then go back to your regular life, go back to working, go back to being in your little insulated bubble where you don't really help nobody or do nothing for nobody else but yourself and your family. You ain't really doing shit anyways, right? I personally feel everybody as individuals, we have the power to at least attempt to make this world better. We have the power to at least attempt to make this world better, right? And we can do that by getting involved in our communities. We can do that by starting, if you're black, you can do it by starting a black business. You can do it by going to town hall meetings and being involved in all the groundwork that people in our community put down, right? You can do that by learning as much as you can learn about history and then disseminate that to kids or disseminate that to young people, right? Like, fuck voting. Why are we focused on voting when there's a whole bunch of other shit we can do? And, in my opinion, if we're going to go off voting, so far, the shit really hasn't worked. If we're looking at black folks, I'm looking at my people in particular and where we stand in this country, right? Yes, the Civil Rights Act passed, and all of these things took place in the 60s. So now we can be whatever we want to be. We can be the president. We can be in politics. I can work with somebody white, right? All that shit is true, but within all those fractions is still hella racism. So yeah, we've been allowed in to a degree, but we still at the end of the goddamn line. We still don't got no goddamn power. So fuck all that. Like, right? What does that shit matter if we can't push the button? What does that shit matter if we can't even get a cop arrested? How much power do we got in this country? Black politicians, right? Which black politicians are coming together saying, fuck that, these cops are getting arrested no matter what? Who's doing that for us, right? So fuck this voting shit, man. That is, to me, a piece of the puzzle when it comes to liberating our people, when it comes to empowering people around you, when it comes to making a difference. That's a piece of the puzzle. Sometimes a fucking small piece. Now, your local elections, if you have kids that go to school around you, around your house, around where you live, getting involved in those local elections, learning who's for what, right? Learning who you can put your vote behind to make an impact in your community. But I recommend going into that situation the same way. If you don't find nobody, even at a local level, that represents what you represent, fuck it. Fuck it. We're going to just keep giving our vote thinking that's the... Fuck TV, man. Cut your TV off. Cut your TV off. Stop listening to celebrities. Stop listening to entertainers. Stop all that shit. Be logical. Pick up a fucking book. Be logical. Do what makes sense to you. Do what has worked, right? I'm all into replicating what has been beneficial to us, what has worked for us, right? And I'm not quite sure voting has been a big proponent of change in our community. So, yeah, in Arkansas, the brother Lionel Morris lost his life. Another one of us lost our life in the same manner, right? So even though this was in February, so it's been a while, and they just reporting on the story now because of video footage came out. Like, God bless the goddamn camera phone, right? Man, at the end of the day. Because a lot of these incidents we wouldn't even know about if it wasn't for a phone or some sort of technology to let us know what's going on, right? So, in Arkansas, hopefully those cops go to jail. Hopefully the legislation, hopefully some politicians that are black in Arkansas see fit to hold these cops accountable. Hopefully. But if not, family, on a individual level, we have to continue fighting. Like, I know everything that's been going on with George Floyd and almost the politicizing of all of our incidents, the politicizing of the killing of George Floyd, how all of the different industries in America, I cut on the NBA and they got Black Lives Matter on the ground, they got Black Lives Matter on their shirt, every fucking commercial was about black people. You know what I mean? I'm not sure if the intentions of these people are right,